guys, it's Sam Clark, Head of Sales and Marketing here at InvisiblePPC, back again for episode number 7 this time in our client acquisition series. Last week we did episode number 6 and we covered lead qualification. So if you're interested in how to qualify leads, if you're getting a lot of leads that are coming through, make sure you head back and check that one out if you haven't seen it already. But today, as mentioned in last week's video, we're going to be covering sales presentations and conversations, so those meetings that you're booking with potential prospects, those conversations that you're having where you're really getting to know them, you're going to be talking to them about your service, and you're also going to be getting to know about them as well. So I've come from a sales background personally. I've done a lot of digital media sales in the past. So I've done a lot of these types of meetings previously. I'm going to give you a few of my best tips that I found work really well. Some of them are basic, but it's one of those things that once we do it a lot, once we've had a lot of these meetings, some of the basics start to slip. Okay, so this video is going to be great for anybody that's just getting started with sales presentations, but it's also going to be good for those experienced salespeople that just kind of want a bit of a refresher and hopefully pick up a few new hints and tips as well that I'm going to drop in along the way. Okay, guys, so let's jump into it. So point number 1 is sales 101. Really, it's try and get the decision maker involved in the conversation or in this meeting. Okay, you're going to go through the trouble of booking in a meeting, whether it's face-to-face or whether it's via online video, or even if it's just a call. You want to try and get the decision maker involved in that conversation. If you don't, and you speak to the third in charge, the second in charge, there's always another conversation that has to happen after you've had your meeting between that person and the decision maker, and that person is not qualified to deliver the same message that you've just delivered to them, to the decision maker, and it's not going to come across as good, and the chances of you stealing that deal are going to drop dramatically. So always try and get the decision maker involved in the meeting. I know it's not going to be possible in 100% of the cases, especially if you're dealing with B2B businesses or medium-sized businesses. It's going to be difficult, but where you can, try and get the decision maker involved in the process. The best way of doing it is just to ask up front, and don't be scared of asking, before the call, before your meeting, a couple of days before. Just make sure that, just ask politely, who's going to be on the call? Is it just you, or is it going to be you and somebody else? And try and figure out if you're going to have the decision maker on that call or in that meeting with you. Okay. So number 2 is, let's get to actually know the prospect, on a personal level, if at all possible. Yes, we're going to be talking to them about our services. Yes, we're going to be talking to them about our business and their business. But before that, if you can, try and just have a little bit of a personal back and forth with them as well. Do they have any kids? What are they interested in? Try and find some common ground to be able to have a chat with them and bring up in the relationship further down the line in any conversations that you have. I know it's cheesy, I know it might not be to everybody's taste, but trust me, it does work. If you can build a better personal connection with the prospect, the chances of you actually sealing the deal at the end of the conversation are much, much higher, okay? Even if you can do some, searching on LinkedIn or any kind of social network. If you can find either the company, or even better, find the individual people that you're going to be speaking with, and see if you can find something that you can mention and relate to them in that meeting. So point 3, we're going to be moving on from the niceties, moving into the good stuff. We're obviously going to be wanting to discover a bit more about their business, and specifically, there's going to be a lot of stuff that we're going to be asking them, but specifically the main things that we want to uncover here are threefold, okay? There's 2 really important ones, and I'll start with them first. So the first one is we want to uncover their pain points, okay? We're obviously having this conversation with them for a reason. They must have some pain points that you basically tasked with trying to uncover in this meeting, okay? Do they not have the ability to grow because they don't have resources, and that's where your agency is going to come in and help them out with their marketing? Maybe it's a time issue. Whatever those pain points are, try and uncover those pain points. They're going to come in useful later on. Secondly, we want to uncover their business goals. Now, I'm not just talking about, oh, we want 10 conversions at the end of the month. I'm talking about what are their long-term business goals, okay? Do they have a revenue goal for the end of the year? What's the long-term goal that's the North Star that you coming in and helping out and offering your services is actually going to be helping them to achieve, Get to the bottom of those goals, try and uncover those North Stars so that you can actually, again, use them later on in the conversation, all right? And then the third and final, which is a nice to know if you can, try and uncover the why now, right? So you're having this conversation now. They've probably had conversations with agencies in the past, but why are they having this conversation with you now? Is it something that they liked about you better? Is it the right time for them? Why didn't they move ahead with people in the past? Try and uncover that information, which is really valuable. Whether it's valuable to you to know what you've done right, or maybe it's going to be valuable so that you can make sure that you don't repeat the same thing that the last agency that they spoke to did, right? So you want to be uncovering that information so that you can better manage the relationship further down the line again, okay? So this discovery phase is really important. Next, we're going to move into presenting our offer. So obviously that's what we're here for. We're here to talk about how great our services are. But let's try and relate what we're talking about to the benefits and not the features. It's something that you hear all the time, talk about the benefits, not the features, but it is important, Obviously, we're going to need to talk about the different things that we do and why we're good and the different features that our service has, but let's get through them relatively quickly. It's stuff that they will have seen before. We want to talk about the individual benefits of our service, okay? So is it going to save them time? Is it going to save them money? What are the benefits that the service that we're offering is going to bring to that business? And then, most importantly, we want to relate that service and those benefits back to the pain points and back to the goal, okay? So that's the whole point in that discovery phase, uncovering those pain points and discovering those goals, is we want to actually relate our presentation of our service back to those points, okay? It's really, really important. If you can relate your service and you can anchor it to those pain points and to those goals, then you're going to be in a really good position when it comes to the end of the conversation if they've related to it, okay? So rounding off the presentation, I always like to see, personally, when I'm being presented to, and I think it adds a really nice touch if you can do this yourself, add on a timeline slide, talk to them about the next steps. Yes, they might not be, pressing the green light or pressing the green button on in that meeting or on that call, but if you can show them what the path looks like when they do press that button, they can imagine the path, which means that they can imagine themselves walking down the path, right? If you can't even show them what the path looks like, then they've got a much lower chance of being able to imagine what moving down that path will look like for them. So if you can show them a clear timeline with milestones that says, okay, well, after month one, we're going to be doing, in month one, we're going to be doing this. In month two, we're going to be doing that. In month three, we're going to be doing this. And you can see the communication plan as well as the project plan, at least for that first 90 days, then they've got a good feeling of what's actually going to be happening once they do agree to the service, okay? So try and have that down, try and give them as much information about your onboarding process as possible. Make sure that they're aware that if they do decide to move ahead, they know what information you're going to require from them and how you're going to move them from just being a prospect to actually being a client that's being managed by your team. And then finally, just to round all of this off, you might want to, you might not, but you might want to offer some closing incentives. If you want to keep your sales cycle as short as possible, you want to keep it to a month, let's say, maybe you want to offer an incentive to make a decision faster. Maybe it's 10% off the first month or whatever it may be. It depends on the size of your business. It depends on the size of the pitch, the size of the package that you pitch in. Obviously, it's going to depend, but you might want to add in some closing incentives to try and get them to make a decision quicker. But you don't want to go too far with it. You don't want to devalue your service. So be careful with it, but maybe a 10% discount or a 20% discount on the first month's fee, whatever it may be, to incentivize them to make a quicker decision so that you and your sales team don't have to keep chasing the client and trying to follow up with them for forever. We talked about follow-up in the previous videos. So if you want to know about follow-up, check that one out. I think it's episode 6. But yeah, make sure you do follow up with them. Make sure that if you are offering an incentive, that you stick to the incentive and the date that incentive's for. Be diligent with it. But yeah, that's it for this video, guys. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you have found it useful, as always, drop us a like. Any questions and comments in the comment section below. And then the last video in this client acquisition series is going to be coming out next week. That's episode 8, where we're going to be talking about client onboarding, prep, and contracts. Okay, so subscribe if you haven't already so that you get notified when that one comes out. My name's Sam Clark. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week. Cheers, guys. Bye.